Welcome back to ETF.com Live, the video edition. My name is Dave Nottig, Managing Director here at ETF.com. First time I've gotten asked this question, and it struck me as one that we should probably address. How do dividends work for an ETF? I think most people who are used to investing in mutual funds just sort of assume that the dividends that a fund is going to pay just magically get reinvested back into that mutual fund. But that's actually an exception. That's something that you have to decide to do when you buy a mutual fund, and it works a little differently with an ETF. An ETF is fundamentally just like a stock. It's traded on an exchange. That's where exchange traded comes from in the name. And when that ETF accumulates dividends from the things that it owns, all the stocks, say in the S&P 500, on a regular basis, usually monthly or quarterly, it's actually going to make a dividend payment of its own. And that dividend is going to show up in your brokerage account the same way that a dividend from Apple or Microsoft or IBM would show up in your brokerage account. It's just going to show up as a transaction, as some cash that ends up in your portfolio. Now, what you choose to do with that is up to you. You could, of course, use that cash. Many people do use ETFs and dividend-centric strategies to generate income, which you then use to go, buy groceries. But you also can work with your broker to automatically reinvest those dividends, effectively take that cash and turn that into a transaction to buy more shares of the ETF you started with. Now, it's not automatic. You have to work with your broker to do that. And not every broker has every ETF available for that kind of dividend reinvestment program. So it's worth checking in with your broker if that's something that you're interested in. Now, it is worth noting that from the perspective of things like taxes and income, all of these things are pretty straightforward and they pass straight through just like a mutual fund would. A mutual fund, even if you had dividends being reinvested, you would still owe taxes on those dividends to the extent you are a taxable investor. Same thing is true with an ETF. There's nothing fancy or tricky that happens with that dividend payment stream. The kinds of dividends that you'll get from the ETF are really up to the kind of ETF it is, right? With a fixed income ETF, you're going to get a steady stream of income coming from the bonds held in that fund. That shows up to you as a stream of dividend payments. If you're owning, say, the S&P 500 in ETF, you're collecting the dividends from all of those companies. And again, that shows up as a stream of dividend payments to you right into your brokerage account. I hope that clears things up. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.